Have you ever noticed that the moment things start going well, something inside you tightens instead of relaxes? Like you finally feel clear, you're making progress, life feels a little bit lighter. Maybe you have opportunities opening up, or you're finally feeling more like yourself again. But instead of enjoying it, you feel this like strange discomfort creeping in. You pull back, or you hesitate, or you start to question yourself or create problems that didn't even exist 5 minutes ago. Or just suddenly feel unmotivated, or you start questioning your plan and things start to go wrong. And then the self judgment comes. Why am I like this? Why can't I just let things be good? Why do things always go wrong when I'm on a roll? If you've ever been there, it's okay. So have I. Most people have to a degree. It's not a motivation issue. It's not that you don't want success or love or joy bad enough. What's happening is deeper than that. See, your nervous system is encountering something unfamiliar, like safety, ease, or visibility. And your nervous system doesn't like the unfamiliar. It doesn't know what to do with it yet. So instead of settling in, your body goes on alert. Not because good things are bad, but because they're new. And for a nervous system that was shaped by survival because of a complex issue or a traumatic past, unfamiliar can feel just as threatening as pain. So today, we're going to talk about why success feels scary, why joy can trigger self sabotage, and why expansion often comes with resistance. We're going to explore what's actually happening in your body and your energy when things start to go right. And most importantly, we're going to talk about how to expand your capacity to receive without forcing yourself to push past fear or shame. This episode isn't so much about fixing yourself, it's about understanding yourself. Because once your body learns that it's safe to have more, then you don't have to sabotage what you're finally ready to receive. Welcome to Jotindi, Journey to the Inner Divine, a sacred space for healing energy, emotional release, and soulful transformation. If you're ready to live with joy, ease, and purpose, you're in the right place. Welcome back to Jotindi. Today's episode is going to clear up some really complex problems that you might be experiencing and give you the tools that you need to increase your capacity for joy, love, and success. Doesn't that sound amazing? I think we can all benefit from more good in our lives. Am I right? So let's talk about what's actually happening here because once you see it clearly, a lot of the shame around it just falls away. So there's a concept called the upper limit. And while it gets talked about a lot in personal development, it's often framed like a mindset issue. Like you're unconsciously blocking yourself or you're afraid of your own success. In fact, when I was working as a mindset coach back in 2019, that's one of the things that I helped people work through. But since I've gained a deeper understanding of our energetic bodies and how we align our inner world so that things naturally fall into place, I'm now approaching the same issue from a different angle. Because while it is possible to have a fear of success and create self sabotage, energetically, it's something much simpler and much more compassionate than that. See, your body has a set range of what feels familiar, manageable, and safe. Not what you consciously want, but what your nervous system recognizes as normal. And that range was shaped over time by your experiences and your relationships and the environments that you grew up in. If chaos, instability, emotional unpredictability, or scarcity were part of your early world, your system has adapted to that. It learned how to function there. It learned how to stay alert and how to brace and how to anticipate what might go wrong. So when your life starts to feel calmer, when you finally start experiencing ease and love and success, your nervous system doesn't automatically read that as a reward. It reads that as unfamiliar. And to your survival based nervous system, unfamiliar can feel dangerous. Energetically, it's like this. You start expanding beyond the frequency that you've been conditioned to hold. Your energy shifts, your life begins to open, and your system responds by trying to pull you back into that range that it knows how to manage. That's when you might suddenly feel anxious for no clear reason, or you start overthinking something that was flowing beautifully, or you procrastinate on that one thing that you were so excited about yesterday. Not because you don't deserve what's coming to you, and not because you're afraid of success in some abstract way. It's because your body is asking, is this safe? Can we survive here? This is why people say things like, I don't feel safe being seen, or things feel too good. And I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's not pessimism. That's a nervous system that learned early on that good things didn't last. So the upper limit isn't really about self sabotage, it's about capacity. Your system isn't resisting joy, it's checking whether it knows how to hold it. And the work isn't to push past that resistance like in self development mindset work. The work is to slowly, gently expand your capacity for safety, visibility, pleasure, and success so that your body doesn't feel the need to pull you back. That's when growth becomes sustainable. That's when expansion feels grounded instead of overwhelming. That's when success stops feeling like something that you have to brace for. And this is exactly why so many people do all the right things, the mindset work, the affirmations, the vision boards, and they still feel stuck. It's just like the difference between going on a diet and making small, sustainable shifts in your normal routine. The small lifestyle shifts, like maybe adding a serving of veggies into your regular meals, that's going to create a long lasting, healthy change. While going on a temporary, extreme overhaul diet is something that you're going to rebound from. And you're going to end up right back where you started before the diet because you haven't created any lasting changes. And when you return to your old ways, everything falls right back into the same place it was at before. So, we aren't doing any extreme overhauls here. We are making small, sustainable, energetic shifts to help your system learn a new normal. So, here's the part that most people never hear. Your nervous system doesn't actually distinguish between good change and bad change. It only really knows familiar versus unfamiliar. And if your system learned to survive in chaos and instability, then calm and success and visibility don't automatically register as safe. They register as unknown. Positive change still means exposure. It still means uncertainty. It still means something new could happen. And for a nervous system shaped by survival, that can be enough to trigger protection. So instead of settling into your expansion, your system tries to bring you back to what it knows how to manage. And this is where a lot of people get confused because it doesn't look like fear in the way we expect fear to look. And it doesn't always show up as panic or resistance. Most of the time, it shows up as self sabotage. And not the dramatic kind, but the subtle, everyday kind that's really easy to miss if you don't know what you're looking for. Which brings us to the question that most people are actually asking. If I want this so badly, why do I keep getting in my own way? So let's talk about what that actually looks like. Before we go any further, I want you to pause for a second and just notice what's happening in your body as you're listening to this. If any part of you is thinking, oh, this feels uncomfortably familiar, or wait, I do that, or even, I never really thought about it this way until now. That's not a problem. That's awareness. There's no need to fix anything right now or to try to make yourself change. Just notice. Because self sabotage doesn't respond well to pressure, it responds to compassion and clarity. So, with that in mind, let's talk about how this actually shows up in real life. The word self sabotage always sounded so harsh and scary to me, like I was actively fighting myself every step of the way. Like, it was hard to realize what I was doing because who would actually sabotage themselves? Sabotage feels like a conscious, malicious act, and nobody would treat themselves that way. But most self sabotage isn't that dramatic. It doesn't look like you're consciously ruining your life or making terrible decisions on purpose. It looks reasonable, like suddenly feeling too busy to follow through on something that felt aligned last week. I get that one a lot. Or like overthinking a decision that you already felt good about until you talk yourself out of it. Maybe it looks like downplaying your wins or brushing off compliments or telling yourself that it's not that big of a deal, even when it is. It can look like creating unnecessary tension. Maybe you get irritated over something small right when things feel calm because calm feels unfamiliar and your system is searching for something that it recognizes, even if that means unconsciously picking a fight. Sometimes it can look like distraction. Maybe you start doom scrolling or snacking or reorganizing your room or finding something or anything to do instead of staying present with the expansion that's happening. And sometimes it looks like pulling away emotionally from people, from opportunities, from the very thing that you've been asking for. Not because you don't want it, but because letting it in feels like too much too fast. And this part I really want you to hear. Okay. This does not mean that you're lazy or unmotivated or afraid of success. It means that your nervous system is trying to regulate by bringing you back to familiar territory. And when we can see it through that lens, your question shifts from what is wrong with me to what part of me is trying to feel safe right now. And that shift alone can change everything. Because once you stop fighting the behavior and you start listening to it, you can respond differently. You can slow down. You can ground yourself. You can expand your capacity instead of collapsing under pressure. And that's where the real change starts. Not by forcing yourself to do better, but by learning how to stay present when things start going right. And once you start seeing self sabotage in this way, something else begins to make sense too, especially if you're somebody who's spiritually inclined, intuitive, or has spent time thinking about manifestation and alignment and calling things into your life. Because this isn't just a psychological pattern, there's an energetic layer here too. Many people are asking the universe for more. They want more clarity, more peace, more purpose, more abundance. And at the same time, they are feeling confused about why it feels so hard to receive when it finally starts showing up. From a spiritual perspective, it's not that you're being tested or blocked, and it's not that you're doing manifestation wrong. It's what's actually happening is much gentler than that. Everything that you're calling in carries an energy. Joy has a frequency, visibility has a frequency, love, purpose, success. It all moves through you as energy, and your body is the vessel that has to hold it. So, if your system learned early on that safety came from staying small or staying quiet or staying alert, then this expansion can feel really overwhelming. Not because it's wrong, but because it is so different than what your body is used to. And this is where people get stuck, thinking that they need to want it more, or they need to think more positively, or they need to push past their fear. But expansion doesn't ask for force, it asks for capacity. And spirit doesn't override your nervous system, it moves at the pace that your body can safely receive. And when you look at it this way, the work stops being about fixing yourself so that you can finally have what you want. It becomes about gently teaching your body that it's safe to hold what you've been asking for, that you're allowed to feel good without waiting for something to go wrong, that joy doesn't have to be followed by collapse, and that expansion doesn't mean that you're abandoning yourself. So when your body starts to believe that, receiving becomes natural. So, how do we go about expanding your capacity? Well, first, we begin with a reframe because this isn't going to be entirely solved with a mindset shift, but your mindset is important. What we're not going to do is try to force yourself to be ready. What we're going to do instead is teach your body that expansion is safe. So, here are a few gentle ways that we can build capacity over time. First, you could try letting yourself feel good for a few seconds longer than usual. You can practice receiving without immediately giving or fixing or earning. You can bring safety to moments of expansion instead of bracing for the crash. You can ground into joy, into the body, so that it doesn't feel floaty or dangerous. And you can expand slowly in waves instead of trying to do it all at once. None of this is about willpower. This is all about nervous system trust. Now, I want to walk you through two of these practices that are especially powerful because they meet you right where you are. The first practice, expanding your tolerance for good. This one sounds like almost too simple, but it's incredibly revealing. Most of us are actually very practiced at feeling stress and tension and urgency, but we're not practiced at staying present with ease. So here's what I want you to try. The next time something good happens, and it can be small, like a compliment or a moment of calm or a feeling of pride or a sense of clarity, even if it's just a quiet moment where there's nothing wrong, I want you to take a pause and notice what your body does. A lot of people feel an immediate impulse to move on or downplay it or distract themselves or wait for the other shoe to drop. Instead, stay with that sensation for just a few more seconds. Maybe you place a hand on your chest or your belly. You can take one slow breath. You might silently say to yourself, it's safe to feel this. And you don't have to do this forever or dramatically, just a few seconds longer than you normally would. What you're doing here is you're teaching your nervous system that pleasure and ease and success don't require vigilance, that nothing bad follows feeling good. And this is how you slowly start to rewire the expectation of collapse after joy. Because your capacity doesn't expand through intensity, it expands through repetition of safety. So, practice two. This is a grounding expansion into the body. This one is especially important for intuitive, spiritual, or sensitive women because expansion can feel kind of floaty or ungrounded, almost like you're leaving your body. And when that happens, the nervous system really wants to hit the brakes. So, whenever you notice growth or momentum or excitement starting to rise in you, maybe you're getting more visible or you're feeling more inspired or something that you've wanted for so long is starting to come closer, bring it down, not up. Feel your feet on the floor. Press your toes into the ground. Notice the weight of your body in the chair you're sitting in. Take a breath that moves deep into your belly and feel it down into your hips or your legs. You might imagine roots growing from your feet into the earth, or imagine good energy settling into your bones instead of lifting you out of yourself. These types of practices tell your nervous system, I can have this and stay safe. I don't have to leave my body to hold more, and I'm safe on the earth with this much moving through me. Spirit moves best through a body that feels anchored, and grounding is what allows your expansion to last. Okay, I know I said I was going to walk you through two practices, but there is one more that I feel I have to share. It's how you can learn to receive. And I was taught this in a seminar about success, and it completely changed my life. It is so simple, and it can bring up a lot of emotions for some people and can be quite difficult for a couple of us. But it is so valuable. And all you have to do is start receiving compliments. When someone says something nice to you, Let it land. Respond with a genuine thank you. And that's all. No deflection, no bouncing it back, definitely no self deprecation. If someone says, "You have a nice sweater," don't deflect it with something like, "Oh, this old thing, I found it in a thrift shop." Just say thank you. If someone says, "Your hair looks really nice today," don't immediately bounce it back with, "Oh, so does yours." Just say thank you. Allow it to land and allow yourself to feel good about it. If you want to compliment them back, you can do it another time, but immediately after receiving a compliment is not the right time. If someone says you did a good job on a project, don't respond with something self deprecating like, "Oh, yeah, at least I got this one right." Just say thank you and then ground the feeling like we did in the last exercise. Learning to receive is difficult, but if you start small with compliments, you'll eventually teach your nervous system that receiving is safe and it even feels good. Give yourself this gift and watch how your life blossoms. Here's what I really want you to hear, okay? You don't have to overcome your upper limits by pushing harder, but you do dissolve them by making expansion feel safe. Every time you stay present with your joy a little bit longer, every time that you receive without bracing, every time you ground instead of collapse, you are widening your container. And that is how abundance and purpose and love and success stop feeling scary and start feeling natural. And I want to gently reframe something here because a lot of people hear the word self sabotage and immediately go to shame. They think, why do I do this to myself? Why can't I just let things be good? Why do I always mess it up when things start working? But what if self sabotage isn't a flaw? What if it's actually a signal? Most of the behaviors that we call self sabotage are really just moments where the nervous system doesn't feel safe holding what's arriving. So it pulls you back to familiar ground, not because you don't want the good, but because your body hasn't learned yet that it's okay to keep it. And this is where the shift into self trust can begin. Self trust doesn't come from forcing yourself to do better. It comes from showing your body again and again that you will stay with yourself when things expand, that you won't abandon yourself the moment it feels uncomfortable. You won't override your system just to prove something, and that you can move forward and stay regulated. This is why the practice I mentioned earlier, receiving without deflecting, is so powerful. When someone gives you a compliment and you don't minimize it, when you don't joke it away or bounce it back, when you let yourself simply say thank you and feel it land, you're teaching your nervous system something new, that you don't have to earn this, that you don't have to give something back immediately, and you don't have to stay small to stay safe. And it's not about manners, it's about building your capacity. Every time that you receive without collapsing or performing, you build trust with yourself. And over time, those small moments, they start to add up. Instead of self sabotage showing up as pulling away or creating drama or overthinking, you start to notice a pause, a breath, a choice. You feel the edge of discomfort, and instead of reacting, you stay present. That's self trust in action. Self trust is not the absence of fear, it's the willingness to stay with yourself when fear arises. It's knowing that if you feel stretched, you're not going to punish yourself. And if you wobble, you'll start to ground. And if things start to feel unfamiliar, you will move slowly instead of burning it all down. And this is where something really beautiful happens. When you stop fighting your nervous system and start partnering with it, your intuition gets clearer, your choices get cleaner, your boundaries get easier, your yes becomes more honest, and your no stops being loaded with guilt because now your actions are coming from alignment, not urgency. They're coming from safety, not survival. This is the shift from managing yourself to being in relationship with yourself. And that relationship is what makes lasting healing possible. So here's where I want to bring this all home. Everything that we've talked about today, capacity, receiving, aligned action, nervous system safety, self trust, none of it is meant to stay in your head. It's meant to bring you back into relationship with your body, your intuition, with the part of you that already knows the way forward. Because guidance doesn't come from trying harder, it comes from being available. When your body feels safer, when you allow yourself to receive instead of brace, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. You start to feel accompanied. You feel less alone in your choices, less frantic about figuring everything out, and more attuned to the quiet signals that were always there. And that's what I mean when I talk about connecting to the universe. It's not looking for signs everywhere around you or outsourcing your power, but it's about remembering that you're already part of a much larger intelligence and you can learn to listen from inside it. If this episode stirred something in you, if you felt yourself nodding along or thinking, I want more of this, I want you to know that there is a way to deepen it. I am hosting a free live 5-day experience called The Oracle Within, and it's designed to support exactly this work. Not by giving you answers, but by helping you remember how to hear them. Over 5 days, we're going to slow your nervous system, clear your internal noise, and strengthen your connection to your higher self. We'll work with grounding, embodiment, and learn practices to receive guidance, not as a concept, but as a lived experience. It's not about predicting the future or forcing clarity. It's about creating the conditions where wisdom can meet you, where your trust can expand and aligned action starts to feel natural instead of full effort. If you spent a long time searching for the path, this is about remembering that you're already on the path. You can join us for free at mariaaurora.com/oracle, and there'll also be a link in the show notes. And whether you join or not, that's okay. You're allowed to receive. You're allowed to expand. You're allowed to walk forward with support. And before we end today, I want you to pause for a moment, not to analyze anything or figure out your next step, but just notice yourself. Notice how it feels in your body right now. Notice if anything softened or if anything landed, even if there's a small sense of spaciousness where there used to be tension. If there is, it's not an accident. That's your system responding to safety. That's your body learning that expansion doesn't have to be dangerous and that receiving doesn't have to come with consequences. If there's one thing that I hope you take away from this episode, it's this. You are not sabotaging yourself because something is wrong with you. You are protecting yourself because something inside you is still learning that it's safe to have more. And that learning doesn't happen through force. It happens through relationship with your body, your intuition, with the part of you that knows when to move and when to rest. You don't have to push yourself into the life you want. You're allowed to grow into it. So as you move through your days this week, see if you can practice just one of the practices I mentioned earlier. When something good shows up, don't rush past it. Don't brace for the other shoe to drop. Just stay. Let your body feel it. That's how your capacity builds and how your self-trust grows. That's how alignment becomes something that you live and not something that you're chasing. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for doing this work with honesty and care, for choosing to expand gently, consciously, and in your own time. When we choose to heal and grow ourselves, we create healing and growth for everyone around us. So until next time, remember, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path.